Alright football fans, the journey to the pinnacle of European club football, the UEFA Champions League final, is a path filled with drama, tactical battles, and moments of individual brilliance. This week, the intense semi-final matchups culminated in one team securing their spot in the prestigious final, while another team's hopes were dashed after a hard-fought two-leg battle. In the second leg of their Champions League semi-final tie at Parc des Princes, Paris Saint-Germain faced off against Arsenal. Arsenal entered the match with a narrow advantage, having won the first leg at Emirates Stadium 1-0. Their goal in the second leg was to protect that lead or add to it to secure their place in the final. However, ultimately, Arsenal's bid to reach the Champions League final ended in failure. As they were beaten by Paris Saint-Germain, PSG won the second leg by a score of 2-1. This resulted in a 2-2 aggregate score over the two legs. With the aggregate tied, PSG advanced to the Champions League final on the away goals rule. Having scored 2 goals in London in the first leg compared to Arsenal's single away goal in Paris in the second leg, PSG will now meet Inter Milan in the Champions League final, which is set to be held in Munich. Inter Milan secured their spot in the final with what's described in the article as a sensational win against Barcelona over 2 legs, in the other semi-final matchup. The second leg between PSG and Arsenal was a thrilling encounter that saw Arsenal start brightly. The Gunners delivered a top-class display in Paris, and mounted a blistering early salvo that stunned PSG and their supporters with their early domination. They created early chances, including Declan Rice heading a great chance wide. However, Arsenal's attempt to overturn the 1-0 first leg deficit ran aground against a magnificent display by PSG's goalkeeper, Gianluigi Donnarumma, who was already outstanding in the first leg, delivered a repeat performance in Paris with a series of stunning saves. He made an outstanding stop from Gabriel Martinelli and an even better save from Martin Odegaard's low long-range drive as PSG was initially rocked back by Arsenal's early pressure. His early heroics broke their hearts and hopes of a comeback, preventing Arsenal from getting the crucial away goal they needed early on. Despite being put under pressure, PSG managed to capitalize on an Arsenal error to take the lead on the night. In the 27th minute, Fabian Ruiz collected a headed clearance from Arsenal midfielder Thomas Partey and fired a 20-yard finish past Arsenal keeper David Raya. With the help of a slight deflection, this goal put PSG ahead 1-0 on the night and tied the aggregate score at 1-1. The thrilling nature of the match continued. Donnarumma produced another stunning save to deny Bukayo Saka. At the other end, Arsenal keeper David Raya got in on the act, saving Vitinha's poor spot kick after Miles Lewis-Skelly was penalized for handball, a save that kept Arsenal in the tie at that moment. However, PSG extended their lead in the 72nd minute. And again, Thomas Partey was unfortunately involved for Arsenal. Partey lost possession, leading to Ruiz Hakimi scoring on the turn, giving PSG a 2-1 lead on the night and the vital away goal advantage on aggregate. Arsenal did manage to get one back just 4 minutes later, with Bukayo Saka finally beating Donnarumma with an angled finish in the 76th minute. But Saka's goal was not enough to spark a comeback, and he later missed an opportunity, shooting over an open goal. Ultimately, Arsenal, despite delivering a top-class display, could not deliver enough of the magic moments that manager Mikel Arteta had demanded. The article highlights that Arsenal cried out for a natural striker when they had control and chances, noting that emergency striker Mikel Merino provided a focal point but little else in terms of attacking threat. Key errors, like those involving Thomas Partey on both PSG goals, also proved costly, with their bid for the final failing. Arsenal's barren run without a trophy now extends to 5 years. Arsenal's players understandably looked crestfallen after the final whistle. Arteta now faces the task of lifting his team to ensure they finish in the Premier League's top 5 to secure a return to the Champions League next season. For Paris Saint-Germain, reaching the Champions League final is a significant achievement. This will be only their second Champions League final appearance. They lost their previous final to Bayern Munich in 2020. They are hoping this time they will finally find their Holy Grail and bring the trophy back to Paris. The article notes that head coach Luis Enrique's side has moved on from the bling-bling era of superstars like Neymar, Lionel Messi, and Kylian Mbappé, benefiting from a reconstructed team ethic. They are described as an emerging young PSG team, featuring players like Kvaratskhelia Kvaratskhelia, Ousmane Dembele, and Desire Doué, who will grace the final against Inter Milan. The article emphasizes that goalkeeper Gianluigi Donnarumma has been just as instrumental as PSG's brilliant attack in their thrilling run to Munich, noting Luis Enrique kept faith in him despite indifferent form earlier in the season. And he was outstanding in their knockout wins against Liverpool and Aston Villa before shining against Arsenal. The atmosphere at Parc des Princes after the win was described as wild scenes of celebration, with Donnarumma's name echoing around the stadium. In conclusion, Paris Saint-Germain defeated Arsenal in a dramatic Champions League semi-final second leg, winning 2-1 on the night to advance to the final against Inter Milan on away goals. While Arsenal showed early dominance and created chances, they were ultimately thwarted by a magnificent goalkeeping performance from PSG's Gianluigi Donnarumma, key goals from Fabian Ruiz and Achraf Hakimi, and their own lack of finishing and costly errors. The win sends PSG to their second Champions League final with a new team ethic, while Arsenal's trophy drought continues, leaving them to focus on securing European football for next season. Paris Saint-Germain has defeated Arsenal in the semi-finals of the UEFA Champions League, securing their place in the final against Italian side Inter Milan. In the second leg of the tie, played at Parc des Princes, PSG won by a score of 2-1, overcoming a tough challenge from Arsenal, who were attempting to overturn a deficit from the first leg. A major factor in PSG's victory was the magnificent performance of their goalkeeper, Gianluigi Donnarumma. Arsenal came out with a blistering attack, creating several early chances, but Donnarumma was outstanding, making a series of stunning saves from players like Gabriel Martinelli, Martin Odegaard, and Bukayo Saka to keep the Gunners at bay during their period of early domination. Despite Arsenal's strong start, it was PSG who broke the deadlock. Fabian Ruiz collected a clearance and fired a 20-yard shot past Arsenal keeper David Raya in the 27th minute to give PSG the lead on the night. PSG extended their lead in the second half when Achraf Hakimi scored in the 72nd minute after Arsenal's Thomas Partey lost possession. Arsenal did manage to pull one back 4 minutes later through Bukayo Saka, but it wasn't enough to spark a full comeback. Despite Saka later missing a chance at an open goal, Arsenal ultimately could not turn their early pressure and domination into the goals needed to advance, extending their barren run without a major trophy to 5 years. For PSG, reaching the final is a significant achievement. They defeated tough opponents along the way, including Manchester City in the group stage and knockout wins against Liverpool and Aston Villa before facing Arsenal. This will be PSG's second appearance in a Champions League final, hoping to win the trophy for the first time when they meet Inter Milan in Munich. The article highlights PSG's shift towards a reconstructed team ethic, featuring emerging young talents who will now get to grace the final stage. In summary, Paris Saint-Germain defeated Arsenal 2-1 in the second leg of their Champions League semi-final, thanks in large part to heroic goalkeeping from Gianluigi Donnarumma and timely goals from Fabian Ruiz and Achraf Hakimi. The victory sends PSG to the Champions League final in Munich, where they will face Inter Milan, while Arsenal's quest for European glory and an end to their trophy drought fell short despite a strong effort.